Welcome back. Last time you saw me, I had just removed the subframe from my 2006 Mini Cooper S. Today we're going to replace a bunch of parts on it and put it back in, so let's get to it.
Regarding automobiles, yeah.
Okay, so control arms, trailing arms, brackets are all off. Subframe is free. Oh, it's actually way lighter than I expected. Okay, so here it is. I mean, it's not horrible, it's not great on this side. Although I suppose this side's sort of touching, pressing up against the car. Some rust there, obviously. And then this was always going to be the worst side because it's the underside. So yeah, it doesn't look, I mean, that doesn't look great when stuff flakes off like that, but once I blast it, it should be okay, I think. Yeah, not too bad overall. Now, if you're watching this from down south, where they don't use salt on the roads, you're probably thinking, oh my god, that thing's scrap. But around here, this is not too bad. So yeah, I'll just get it blasted and powder coated or painted, and we'll be good to go. Okay, I've got new parking brake cables. This is the brand, RAYBESTOS Element 3. They're different. So I've marked them here. There's the 97004. And the 97005. The 5 is the left, the 4 is the right. So let's put these in. Okay, so that's gone. Now, question for the audience. These aluminum heat shields are kind of crappy, and if you remember, I actually had to add all these big, I don't know, bumper washers onto all of the holes because there's so much corrosion on them. I was thinking maybe doing something with that gold foil and that gold heat shielding. I don't know if it would do the job or not, because you know you've got your shift cables under here and these e-brake cables, so I'm not sure if it would actually block the heat. So if you've ever seen somebody do that, let me know. And if you haven't, let me know if you think it'll work or what product would work for that. I was just thinking, you know, like just sort of put it all up here. But anyway, that's for another time. Cables. Snap back in there. And that stuff is done. I just gotta reattach them inside the car. Now I'll just tighten that back up. Not all the way, I'll wait until I obviously put the brakes back together, but now we just put it all back together and we're done. It's a couple weeks later and the subframe is back from the powder coater. Looks really nice, black, shiny. And they even made sure not to clog up the threads and you know, ran out the threads so that I can put the bolts back in. So yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with that. So now we can get back to reassembling it. Before we do that, let's talk about what we're gonna keep from the old subframe and what we're gonna replace. So you may have already seen my video where I weigh the different versions, but both trailing arms, there's two of these. This connects to the subframe, or to the car, and to the wheel hub. So both those are going, replacing the old steel one with these nice aluminum ones. They're gonna be lighter, a little more fragile, obviously. I got these in a kit from a site in the US called Allmag, and it comes with all the bolts that you need, including the little conical washers. So yeah, that should be a good one. Next up is the wheel hubs. The old ones, the new ones. I've got two new ones. I could probably, or the old ones will fit, but you know, while I'm here, I might as well replace them. So they're fairly inexpensive. So two of those, two new versions of those. Next up is the trailing arm bracket, I guess. This is where the trailing arm actually connects to the body of the car. Sort of sits up under the car like this, and the trailing arm goes onto there. And again, I think you can reuse these, but what I've done is I went out and got Power Stop race bushings and had them pressed in. These came with the kit. So those are the R56 brackets technically. But yeah, with super hard race, like Power Stop black bushings. So again, extra tight. Control arms, if you follow me, you already knew I did this, but the old one with the standard rubber bushings, the new ones that I've made, which are, you know, custom aluminum adjustable with these rod ends, and then I have some offset spacers to go in there. Yeah, 4 new of those. Last but not least is the sway bar. Obviously this is the factory one, and we'll replace that with the Hotchkis sports suspension 25mm adjustable rear sway bar with, you know, the black polyurethane bushings. So it should make the rear a lot stiffer, and supposedly it is lighter, but how much lighter? So we got the factory one, 2.7 kilos. Now the Hotchkis one, 2.4 kilos. So it's not really a big difference, but it is way stiffer, so you're actually getting better performance for less weight. I mean, 0.3 kilos isn't a lot, but it is something, and it is weight saved. So we'll have to return to a feature we haven't used in a while. You know it, you love it. It's the wall of weight savings. So we haven't used this feature in a while. If you remember, we had the lighter crank pulley, lighter flywheel. So to that, we're gonna add basically 1 pound for the rear sway bar. Now again, it's not a lot, but it's better performance for slightly less weight. So that's why it's such a nice upgrade. And one more thing, and because there's 4 of them, those rear control arms, because they're made out of aluminum, they're stiffer, they're adjustable, and they're 3.5 pounds lighter. Without really even putting too much focus on weight savings, we've already saved just over 25 pounds, and that's pretty good. So now let's get to putting this back together. I realized that while I was talking about weight, I forgot the entire point of the video, which was the 10 pounds I saved with the trailing arms. So this mod alone, or with the control arms, the sway bar, and the trailing arms, we're looking at 13.5, about 14.1 pounds weight savings on the rear end. Not too bad. Okay, we've got the shiny new subframe here. And as mentioned in the video where I actually built these control arms, I'm now just gonna make them all the correct length before we start. So there's 7 threads showing on either side. It fits on. So we're just gonna tighten this down. We now have one proper length control arm, and I'll just do the other 4 based off this one. Okay, they're all right about 7 teeth showing. And then I've double checked them against the real one, all of them individually, so that's good. And I'm just tightening them up with this very common size wrench that everybody has readily available, 28mm. It's probably a metric size, but 28mm works. Okay, that should hold until we can get an alignment done. So on to the next thing. One of the videos I've seen was they build everything, or they build it all on the ground and put it up. But one of the suggestions in the comments on one of my previous videos was to just put the subframe on, then build it all in the car, and that would be easier. I think it will be easier. I've considered just putting just the control arms on, just because they're kind of a pain in the ass to get behind, but it should be a lot easier after I get the subframe back in, because then I can bolt it up and get the gas tank bolted back in, the straps, and get all the jacks and everything out from underneath there and give myself a little more room. Okay, so I put the bolt in. I just want to give you an idea of how much play is in this. That's pretty much it. So I've got 2 size washers here. that I'll just slot in there, and then I'll have to do that on all the different control arms just to get rid of that little bit of play. But the spacers I have, or the misalignment spacers I have, oops. The misalignment spacers I have were basically as close as I could get to the exact 40 millimeter that I needed. I knew I was gonna have to put washers in, but if you put just all spacers in, then the rod end can actually like be restricted by them. But because I do have the misalignment spacers in there, I can just put a couple washers on the side and I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, I tried all different sizes of washers, and without having to, I was thinking about having to shave some down. Just some normal ones from Princess Auto, some flat washers. But these really, really flat ones, the only place I could find them was actually Home Depot. 3473 is the bin number, and they were able to get me perfect fit. There is no play whatsoever in this now. So 3 of those, and I no longer have any play in the suspension here. One fat one and one skinny one didn't work. So yeah, 3 of these, 3 of the skinny ones. I put in all the effort to prime these and paint them the same color as the car. These are the old brackets for the bushings. When the new ones came with these fancy new ones, brackets that allow grease, and then there's actually in the bushing itself, there's a pass through so the grease can go right through the bushing to the bar, so you can just re-grease them after. That's pretty sweet. But it also sucks I put all that effort in. Okay, everything that's going to go on the subframe before I put it in is on. Control arms, sway bar. Now it's just a matter of lifting it up and bolting it in place. Okay, let's see if we can do this with one person. If not, I'll have to call him back up. Got my bolts. See how heavy this is? Okay, it's not actually that heavy. And get some help. Okay, it should be close to in place. Okay. Okay, I just need to tighten those all up. They're all at 74. Okay, up next I'm gonna put the, I guess the trailing arm brackets back in. I'm not sure if I had done my spiel about the Powerflex bushing I'm putting in here or not. Anyway, I got the black race bushings for this, so again, everything's just going to be extra toy, except for of course the stock suspension, but that's a future project. So these will just go into the body with 3 bolts, 75 pounds. Part numbers are always in the description. These ones are PFR5 1103 black. Obviously you can get the different colors. The purple are the standard and the black are the race, so a little stiffer. And again, we're making it so toy. Okay, so here's the current state. Next up is to get the brake lines reattached to the subframe, or through the subframe, and then I can start thinking about putting the trailing arms in. Okay, I'm just gonna put the brake line, or the e-brake line brackets back in. These are easy. Do the same on the other side, and we'll be good. Okay, so now I'm gonna put the battery cable back in and hopefully not get a face full of. So it goes under. Under the subframe. Put over the heat shield. Next up I have my aluminum control arms. You'll notice there's no hub on it. I didn't take the old rusty ones off the steel ones. I actually ended up buying new ones because I figured everything else is going to be new back there. Why not spend this, a few more bucks and get a whole new hub and bearing? So I'm going to put those on. When you're reading about this conversion, a lot of people mention, and it was actually in some of the comments, is be careful of the torque on these aluminum trailing arms because it's aluminum. They can strip a lot easier than the steel ones. Luckily, I have the Haynes manual that covers Gen 1 and Gen 2. And it's really interesting because when you look at the rear suspension torque specs, they're all the same, except for one, and that is the shock absorber lower mounting bolt. And in that case, surprisingly, the Mark I model is 103 foot-pounds. The Mark II is 122 foot-pounds. So the Mark II, or the aluminum ones, are actually tighter. Now I'm guessing that the warning that everybody's getting, or the problem that people have, is that a lot of people don't use the proper torque and they just, go by hand and then just try and go as tight as they can and it strips out. But I figure if I stick to the torque settings, I should be fine. And for the hub and the retaining bolts that go into it, these guys here, it's only 41 pounds. So that's actually not a lot at all. So to put these in is actually pretty straightforward. If you actually look at the back of it, right here, you'll see there's an extra bump. And then that is also on the trailing arm here. And they just fit in there like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very easy to get at. And I'll just tighten those up to torque. We've heard a lot about the differences between the two trailing arms, but one of them that's like a mechanical difference, not like a material difference, is on the R53, this is where the shock actually mounts here, and it's flat. And you can see here, this is actually sort of indented or conical. And you have to get one of these, or a pair of these, which are just like a washer essentially, but it goes in here and makes it flat. And that way you can use the R53 shocks with these trailing arms. I'm assuming that if I ever decide to upgrade the shocks, that I could use the R56 ones, because I think the top mounts are the same, and then just take this out. But for now, since I'm using the stock R53 ones, put that in, and it'll be flush with the shock. These you can buy a few different places. I think you can get them at Moda Mini in the UK. I got them with my Allmag kit, but I think you can buy them from various places. But like I said, I was lazy, so I got the whole kit from Allmag, and they came with it. Okay, so we're gonna try and put this in. Misalignment spacers. First I'll see how close I got this one. Oh yeah, right on. Okay. Okay, I'm using the R56 end links. I've just got brand new ones. Some came with the kit I got, but they were used. And so the only difference is that one has a longer stud, or one end has a longer stud, and it goes on the bottom. Shorter one goes up top. And I should mention that with this setup, the washers, if you put too many at the back, like I'm talking like, tiny washers, and I have 3 total in there. If I put too many at the back, there isn't quite enough room for it to get in. So make sure you put them at the front in order to fit the drop link in. So the anti-roll / sway bar that I got has 3 adjustment settings for, you know, low, medium, high, as far as how tight you want the suspension. So I'm going to put it in low, and that should be good. Just kidding. No, there's definitely going in here. That's tight. Okay. All right, now I'm going to tighten everything up. So here we have the wheel speed sensors off both versions of the car. This is off the R53. This is off the R56. You'll see they're very similar, but they are different. I've heard of people getting the R53s to work on the on these aluminum trailing arms, but you just have to sort of like put extra padding in so that they stay. But the kit I bought had the wheel speed sensors in them, so I'm just going to use these ones. I just held them with a little bolt on the back of the wheel hub, or the trailing arm. If you're wondering why there was maybe a slight delay in the release of this video, I'm not exactly sure where I cut off the video last time I was filming, but trying to get the caliper back on after all this time, I couldn't get the cylinder compressed, or the piston compressed, and I tried extremely hard to the point where this is what my compression tool now looks like. It's bent. I just put a wrench on it and like closed my eyes, and I was like, okay, I'm getting it, and I looked down and I bent the tool. So that is a seized caliper, I guess from just sitting all winter, whatever. So here's the new one that just arrived. Came with, or I've already installed the brake line. Came with a bracket. I'll get this installed and we can finish off this job finally. So I just noticed something new. The mounting bracket bolts are one-time use bolts. So I'm gonna put them in for now and have to order new ones, I guess. I've never heard anyone mention that before, but it's marked right in here. Do not reuse. I mean, that would mean that every time you did your brakes, you need new bolts. That seems crazy. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so last sensor to connect. Well, I've got the ABS sensor installed here. I just have to plug it in. This is, I believe, the headlight angle sensor. I don't think it's super important, but normally it would bolt into, I believe, the lower control arm just from the geometry here. So I'm not going to do that, obviously, and what I'm going to do is just zip tie it in for now. Just like throw some zip ties and hold it in there. And I guess the plan would be in the future is to figure out exactly where this arm here swings when it's in the center, and then kind of just take it all apart and like take this swinging arm part and then just like stick this somehow, just glue it there even, or just jam it in one position so it can't move around, so it doesn't need all this part. But for now, I'm just gonna zip tie until I do a little more research. Yeah, that's good for now. I don't really care if it moves too much this way. Start again. Okay, that's done, I guess. We're looking pretty good. Well, we're done. That's a big job. Way bigger than I originally anticipated. I originally thought it was gonna take me like 2 weekends, you know, drop subframe, get it powder coated, put it back on, new control arms, done, or the new trailing arms, done. And I guess if you knew what you're doing, it would take less, but just like things breaking, like that caliper right at the last minute, just took me longer. It took me a couple months of hours here and there, not straight obviously, but yeah, I'm really happy with the results. Let's take a closer look. So here's a full view of the setup. One side, and then the other side. Yeah, really happy with the results. Exactly what I was thinking when I pictured it in my mind is how it looks like now, and I think it's gonna drive great once I get it all aligned, so really happy with that. Okay, I just got done bleeding both rear calipers, and yeah, I'm pretty much done then. So looks great. I assume it's going to drive awesome, but I've got some other issues that just popped up today that are preventing me from going for a ride. Now I do need to still put the heat shielding back on and the exhaust, but that's pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to show you that. But yeah, I'm happy with the results. I think it's going to drive awesome once I get it aligned. It's exactly what I wanted, so yeah, I'm extremely happy. Next thing is to deal with another issue. I'll give you a small preview to the next video, but it involves this. So that's not good news, but all the stuff we did in this video is good news. Channel's close to 1,000 subscribers now, so you know, like the video, do all the social media things, subscribe if you haven't. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.